It's... The Art of Action Figures, taking a look at the SH Figuarts Kiwi from Dragon Ball Z. This is the premium Bandai release for July 2024. Not the most vital character to the story, but definitely one that will look really cool in any Namek Saga lineup. If you saw my review for Battle Power 24,000 Vegeta, I mentioned he's living his best life for about a day at the beginning of the Namek Saga, and one of the features of Vegeta's best life is getting to explode his longtime rival. Kiwi also comes with some DLC for Vegeta. I always loved the aesthetic of Frieza Planet 79 and the medical center. Something about that very alien nighttime setting is very cozy to me. Now, with so many battle armor figures under their belt, I was really looking forward to Tamashii continuing to kind of use some of those parts to flesh out Frieza's army troops. Kiwi feels like a step in that direction, but I think they could still go even deeper with like the skull shark fin guy and the mutton chops guy that attack Krillin and Gohan. Personally, an accessory that I would love to see Figuarts make is the Ki Blast arm cannon that a lot of the troopers carry. I mentioned they could probably reuse some of the existing battle armor figures to continue filling out the ranks, but something kind of surprising about premium Bandai sometimes is they don't reuse as much as you might think. So looking at this Kiwi figure, you might think, oh, well, that's just the Vegeta body with hip flaps and some bands around his gloves and boots, but not quite. It's too big to be first form Frieza, too small to be Jace. Going even all the way back to the Saiyan armor, Vegeta, while they possibly share legs, the armors, you can see the sculpt is completely different around the chest. So if you're not too familiar with premium Bandai, they do make a lot of unique sculpts where they don't necessarily need to. It's very cool to see Kiwi finally released. I don't know if he's ever been made as an action figure. I know he's had little like Banpresto statues. I don't think he's been made as an articulated figure, but you'll have to let me know on that one. He is an Indigo character in an Indigo box, and so very nicely completes your Namek Saga box rainbow. You can't spell Roigi Biv without the I, so scoot over. First form Frieza, we've got Mr. Indigo himself, Kiwi. On the front of the box, it's your standard 2.0 style Figuarts box for Dragon Ball. At the bottom, we have all of your brand logos, consumer safety info, and authenticity stickers, Bandai, Tamashii Nations, Dragon Ball Z, holographic Toei animation sticker, holographic Tamashii Nations quality sticker, intended for ages 15 and up, warning, choking hazard small parts, not for children under 3 years. Also, keep them away from pets and other small creatures. They will try to eat these parts. It's not good for you. It's not good for your pets. Designed by Tamashii Nations in Japan. Bandai Spirits made in China. Product may differ from photo. Speaking of product photo, here shows Kiwi standing confidently, ready to show that stinker Vegeta what real power is. The cutout follows along the outline of his armor. The pose is quite dynamic. I love the sort of like X and V shapes that you get with this Frieza battle armor. On the window, we have SH Figuarts Kiwi, and one of the strangest alternate spellings. I always saw it C-U-I or K-I-W-I. I think it's supposed to be a reference to kiwi, the fruit, but on it K-Y-E-W-I. Good luck finding this video. The window, we of course see the figure and a couple of the alternate heads, although I think at least one is hiding back here. Across the top, it's just the surprised looking face. Across the bottom, so happy. On the left, not interesting, just more window. We have 3 different grayscale figure photos. With more indigo accent color behind them, we have the gruesome exploding face, the very happy laughing face, and firing a key blast hand. And then across the back, the whole array of product photos. Trusty hobby knife. I'm going to go ahead and slice the tape along the right-hand side of the box. Just gently stick the blade under the flap, push towards the back of the box, and then push forward, and you should get a nice, cleanly opened flap. I'm going to go ahead and close Trusty hobby knife. On the inside, we have some instructions that show some of the alternate parts. There's more instructions on the other flap, but I'm not going to open that one, so you may have to look those up on the website, which I think you could do if you went here, or maybe scan this barcode. Not sure. Really pretty indigo accent color. Kiwi comes with 5 heads total, including a smirking expression, maniacal laughter expression, shocked, horrified expression, being exploded expression, and laughing expression. 3 pairs of hands total, so not the most, but I would imagine you could probably swap some of the hands with some of the Vegeta figures like this. You might not even know is for Vegeta. It looks like it could very well fit on this hand. By default, he comes with a pair of fists, 2 alternate pairs, open palm splayed fingers, and open palm clenched fingers. He has 2 green scouters, and when I saw that he was coming with 2 scouters, I was really hoping they would do what they did for the 2.0 Saiyan Saga Vegeta and include one with a readout. Since the 24,000 power level, they make such a big deal out of it. That would have been cool, but it seems that what these 2 different scouters are for is just fitting on 2 of the different heads that have a slightly different sized ear port, and so we'll take a look at how that works. Finally, in the bottom here, we have the Vegeta 24,000 DLC. It's again a specific face and hand for his finishing attack on Kiwi. Let's go ahead and lift him out of the tray. Usually they will include these if there's a chance of paint rubbing between parts. None of the parts at the neck appear to be painted, so that's a little surprising. Feed that out the back. This is not reusing any parts from the Vegeta 24,000. The arms, if not for the kind of skin texture that he has, based on the size, they could be the 2.0 Scouter Vegeta arms, but I think they are actually brand new as well, so that's kind of cool. I guess that makes sense since they've had to put that texture on his skin. Similar setup to Captain Ginyu and the Battle Armor Krillin figure. I think he has a similar armor with the side flaps only at the hips. I also was curious if he's reusing the legs from the Scouter Vegeta, and it may be the case. They are pretty much the same height, although some difference might be attributed to the different boots. But they do appear to be the same sculpt. So the head sculpt looks phenomenal. It has the weird little catfish tentacles or antenna. I don't know what they're called on catfish. Coral texture and head design. Exoskeleton. The face print here is very good. We'll take a look at the others in detail as well as we get into it. I wonder if these little antennae are articulated. It looks like they might be, and yes they are. They do swivel around, so that's very good. Do want to be very careful when doing it. They're quite thin, and if they popped out, they're also very small and easy to lose. The little dot texture is continued down the neck into the collar area, where it appears that is the base color for the torso plastic, meaning the eggshell white and the dark navy blue of the armor are painted on, and you can tell they're painted on because it's not the best paint job on mine. Straight out of the box, there are some little scuffs in both the white and the blue, especially on his right chest there. Another one I saw just at the top of the left, and then there is a little bit of fuzziness around the perimeter where it transitions from blue to white. Down below, I think the base color might be white with the gold paint and blue, glossy blue painted over. The glossy navy armor does look very good overall, though. The shoulder pads and the hip pads are also painted the same goldenrod yellow, which looks really, really good. Newly sculpted arms. The muscle definition is just a little bit different than Scouter Vegeta. I keep calling him Scouter Vegeta, saying Saga Vegeta. And of course he has the dot texture all down the arm. His gloves are also different from any of Vegeta's gloves, with the sort of gold rope. I don't know, do those designate like officers or something in Frieza's army? I always thought they looked more kind of like fancy decoration for the armor. The legs, pretty much just straight dark gray to black. For comparison, here's Vegeta's hair, just a little bit lighter than that, so you could call it dark gray. Then his boots are this pale, like pistachio green. It's a really pretty color. The top part of the boot seems to be painted with both the pistachio green and the goldenrod yellow for the rope, and the feet are molded in the sort of pistachio green. We've seen Frieza's army battle armor a million times at this point, and I am all for it. I debated whether to kind of bust out the whole Frieza force for this video, but I think I'm going to save that for King Cold when he arrives later this year. I mentioned this is not our first rodeo with the 2.0 Frieza's army battle armor, but in case you're unfamiliar or this is the first one you've come across, I want to run through the articulation quickly enough. So as you can see, the shoulder pads are on hinges, hinges only, so they only go up and down like this. They aren't the worst looking when you raise the arms to about 90 degrees using the shoulder swivels. That just helps us have a little reference line so you can tell how far each of the joints moves. And the neck is, let's see, what appears to be 3 ball pegs. So ball peg from the neck into the torso, and then a double ball peg between the neck and the joint that connects to the head. And it's similar to Krillin, Earth's Strongest Man, or Metal Cooler. It's got kind of that like drum thing on the inside. Not really sure why they do that, but it does make swapping the heads a little bit easier. So I kind of like it. And I think that's on all the way, and he actually gets a really great range of motion looking down. From where I sit, pretty close to 45 degrees. Looking up, just gets a little bit of a gap there. Not too terrible though. Also pretty close to 45, between 30 and 45, I'd say. Now, the torso, I think, is a ball peg into a hinge that only goes forward. So he gets a little bit of rotation and pivot at the ball joint. Not too much rotation, though, because of the oblong shape of the torso. But most of your forward ab crunch comes from this inner hinge. And altogether, that's pretty fantastic ab crunch. I wish Vegeta got this ab crunch. To refresh your memory if you didn't see that review. That is as far as Vegeta can crunch, less than 20 degrees forward, whereas that is well past 45 degrees of ab crunch for Kiwi. I really wish Vegeta had better articulation. It does leave a huge gap at the back, but I will take it every time for being able to bend that far forward. The leaning backwards, because it's a forward-only hinge, is quite a bit more limited, however. But again, that's about as much range going backwards as Vegeta got, if even that much. Yeah. Also gets a little bit of tilt and pivot, but mostly rotation at this waist swivel. It can seemingly go pretty much all the way around, so that's good. The hip flaps are on hinges, just like the shoulders. So far, everything's been pretty solid and smooth. Nothing overly tight, squeaky, or loose. Yeah, really, really solid overall. Good build. Take a quick look at the elbows here. They are double hinge, pretty standard for Figuarts. Bend about 120 to 130 degrees. And of course, there is a cut between the bicep and shoulder that gives you a swivel. We talked about the shoulders are on ball joints going into hinges, so they swivel around until they run into the armor, which is about there. They also can hinge in and out or up and down, whichever way you like. The wrists are standard for Figuarts, swivel, hinge, ball, combo joint, and that allows you to bend the wrists in any direction, up and down, or if you shimmy the swivel around, they go in and out as well. So in anything in between, which is really great for posing these characters in all their sort of attacking poses where they all have like really specific hand gestures. 2.0 style hips, seemingly reused from the Saiyan Saga Vegeta. But you know what? He might have a new butt. Let's see. The Saiyan Saga Vegeta has the tail, and yeah, Kyewi's got a bit more padding back there, so that looks pretty good. But it does mean he can't quite kick straight back, but if you kick the leg out to the side just a hair, you can get him in a pretty good front to back split. The thigh swivel. Double hinges at the knee that go well past 135. That's pretty fantastic. There's a little bit of a scoop cut out at the back of the thigh, but they managed to kind of integrate it into the muscle anatomy, the way they sculpted this. And the ankles are the ever-forsaken 2.0 double ball peg ankle joints that you can see not quite as much range as the 24,000 power level Vegeta. So I think they actually did rework those ankles a little bit, but actually a little bit better range going up compared to Namek Vegeta. And then, as you saw, there is a little metal pin in there. That's kind of the way they did these 2.0 and 1.0 toe hinges. The toe hinge is a pretty clean cut, and that looks very nice, and it goes up only. It does not go down, but it does hinge up 30 degrees or so. Yeah, so that's all the movements going forward and back. Let's go ahead and look at side to side. For that, we raise the arms up into the T-pose. They get a really great range of motion in that respect. Of course, the shoulder pads do come into the picture here, but the 3 ball joints at the neck combined give you really good tilt to the side, and because they're ball joints, you can very easily position the head anywhere with all kinds of nice tilt in any direction you want. At the torso, he gets decent range provided by that ball joint, 45 or more in each direction. Pretty respectable. These ankles, just a little bit of pivot, probably about here. Widest stance with the feet flat. real quick, just demonstrate the butterfly joints. They only go forward, so going back, not quite straight back, a little bit outside. Because of those butterfly joints, they can really come across the chest quite nicely. Of course, it's going to look a little weird, and you got to work around these shoulder pads. And that's it for Kyewi's articulation. I mentioned Kyewi seems to be reusing the 2.0 Saiyan Saga Vegeta legs, and with that, they stand pretty much the same height. Vegeta maybe just a fraction shorter. Since Vegeta is a little bit of a shorter character, Kyewi's going to be a bit shorter than your average figure. But as we all know, few are shorter than our first form Frieza here. 24,000 or Namek Saga Vegeta was also slightly retooled around the boots, and so he actually comes in a little bit shorter than his Saiyan Saga counterpart, as well as Kyewi in that case, which I think is correct. And here's the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, which is just a fraction taller than Kyewi. This Goku is quite possibly one of the best action figures ever made. And that got me thinking about what are the best action figures ever made as kind of an interesting video topic. So if you have any suggestions for that, let me know. Just in terms of things like character importance and execution of the figure. Zooming out a fraction, and here he is with a slightly taller figure, Captain Ginyu. And here's everybody from left to right. First form Frieza, Vegeta, power level 24,000, Kyewi, legendary Super Saiyan Goku, and Captain Ginyu. Next up, I want to try swapping some of the accessories. So I think there are two scouters, one of them for the default face, and one is just for one of the other faces. And I think only those two faces of the 5 are able to wear the scouter. His left ear is supposed to come out, and it can be kind of tricky to remove it. There's not really any tab on the inside that you can push to pop it out, which was what I was hoping for. So you kind of just have to wedge like a slight fingernail under the top of it until it slides out, and then just be very careful not to misplace that. This doesn't appear to be labeled, so I'm guessing we're going based off of the shape of the hull. And the top, okay, it looks like that top scouter is designed for the default head. And here we have Kyewi talking some trash as he and Vegeta stroll down the corridor. The new face for Vegeta came out really stellar. It's probably the best thing about this figure. The facial expressions are just fabulous. This one just elevates them even to the next level. Next, let's swap Kyewi's other head that you're able to attach the scouter to. This shocked looking expression, which looks great. So again, I'm just going to gently use the tip of my fingernail to wedge out the ear. Very careful not to lose the ears. And then I'm using the second scouter here. It has a square peg that's designed to fit only this expression. That just looks so good. All of these creases around the mouth, the line work around the eyes to just really exaggerate the stunned expression. The paint on the scouter is very clean on this one. They got pretty good with everything except the red button there is just a little incomplete with the paint, but not bad. When you're going for this stunned expression, I really like to also emphasize that he's kind of backing away. So his posture here, I've got the hips kind of forward and then bent at the torso. And I think that just helps to accentuate his surprise. And here we have Kiwi retreating in terror. And here we have just another fabulous face. Got that asymmetric thing in the eyebrows, the eye shapes, and in the mouth. And something kind of cool about the antenna or tentacles here is since they rotate independently, since the left corner of his mouth is raised higher, here what I've done is just rotate that left one forward a little bit. So those are also kind of cockeyed, and I think that adds to the expression. In this third face, the ear is not removable, so you cannot attach the scouter. And the same is true for the next two heads that we're going to look at. Those three are all meant for after Vegeta has powered up and caused Kiwi's scouter to explode. I think this is when he starts pleading to help Vegeta overthrow Frieza. Sorry, Kiwi. Not gonna work with Vegeta in this era of his life. Might work for Goku if you promise to be a good boy, but I think, friend, you are not in luck this time around. And now, a brief reading from the Cowardly Villain's Handbook. Upon encountering an opponent who is much more powerful than you, Step 1. Earnestly offer them the opportunity to join you instead of destroying you. When this inevitably fails, go to Step 2. Step 2. Bamboozle them with a clever ruse, followed by an unexpected sneak attack. And before you ask, yes, this Vegeta pose here is inspired by Cammy's victory pose in Street Fighter 6. So, a little fun behind-the-scenes tidbit for you there. As you can see, the DLC pointing finger hand is not only good for Vegeta, it is also compatible with Kiwi, and even the glove color is a fairly good match. But yeah, the wrist peg size is identical between Vegeta and Kiwi. Of course, the pointing hand is really meant for the 24,000 Vegeta figure to recreate his finishing move here. And the way that I do this pose, a couple of key elements to it. I think the most important one is the arc from his right leg up through his spine, through his right arm. See how this kind of makes an arc shape. The more continuous that arc, I think, the more effective the pose. If you look at the anime, his spine is really tilted a lot more than the figure can actually tilt. So to make up for that, you kind of have to rotate him at the hips, tilt the spine, and then also use the hip articulation to kind of help out with the tilt of the spine and the curve of the leg. So you can see his leg is not straight up and down. It's actually pulled back a little bit, and kind of the complementary angles of the left side here. Poor Kiwi on the receiving end. This head is quite gruesome, I will warn you. It's from a very specific panel drawing in the manga. I know some people probably really like the accuracy of it. Personally, it grosses me out a little too much, so I'm probably not going to use it. But for what it is, it's very well sculpted. I mean, it is pretty thoroughly deformed, and the eyes popping out, the tongue has this like glossy finish on it that just makes it even more gross. Pairs really well, but probably not in my display. And there you have it. That is the SH Figuarts Kiwi from DBZ. A very solid bit of bread and butter battle armor for Tamashii at this point. It's a really well-made figure, and I'm happy to have it. This has been The Art of Action Figures. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.